Hello my friends, welcome to the second part of this tutorial, and in this part I will show you how I did the retouching and compositing of the image as you can see on the screen. So basically in the first part we did photo shoot of all the assets needed for creating this visual, and this part I will show you how I retouch all the elements and how I composited them. Okay, so let's get started. The first I started with the bottles. So here is the raw file already converted. I did already raw conversion, so as you can see here I left the white balance as the auto. I dropped down the highlights, dropped down the whites, dropped down a little bit blacks, and I added a little bit more clarity and vibrance. Then I did some sharpening. If I'm shooting in ISO 100, I'm using amount of sharpening at 100. I drop down the radius to 0.6. And the last thing I did with the raw is lens correction tab. I checked on remove chromatic aberration, and that's almost it. And of course there is another thing. I am trying to work non-destructively, so before I opened the image in Photoshop, I did make sure that the open in Photoshop as a smart object box was ticked on. So that's it. Okay, so let's get back to Photoshop. So here it is. As a first thing, I did the cutter of the bottle. For cutting out the products like this one, I'm using the pen tool. So let's have a look how I did it. Zoom in at about 100% or more, it's up to you, up to your preference, and click, draw lines. If you want to make angle, so like this, drag and hold, okay, like this. Okay, so I'm not going to show you all the cutting out the process because it's quite boring, and usually when I'm doing photo composite, this is the most boring part for me. Okay, so I already have my paths done, so let's have a look. I will delete this one. So this is the part for the bottle cutout, this is the part for the sticker, and this is the part for the gradient, and the last part is for a sharp reflection. Okay, so that's the cutout of the bottle, and then I merge it with the background into a new layer. And okay, so before I turn on this layer, the idea is I want to clean the surface of the bottle. You can see this reflection here in the middle, and the problem is, the tricky part is that this reflection is right behind the logo and the writing on the bottle. So if I want to leave the logo and the name of the product untouched, I have to make like a cutout of this. So that's why I did the next step. I switch into the channel palette and I checked all the channels. Actually I'm looking for the channel where is the best contrast between the writing on the bottle and the bottle itself, and usually it works in a blue channel. So I made a copy of this channel here. I took the lasso tool. In this stage I'm focusing only on the white writing on the bottle. Yeah, I'm ignoring the sticker, which is right here. Okay, so I made a rough selection about the writing. I inverted the selection, so Ctrl Shift I or Command Shift I, and filled the rest with the black color. Okay, so here it is. But if I want to make selection only of the writing, I have to be sure that I have only two colors, white and black. So those grayish areas I have to make them black. I have to turn them into the black. So how I did it? Simply just press Ctrl or Command L and it will open the level tab. So take the black eyedropper and click. See? Okay, that's fine. And now with the white slider, I'm trying to increase the whites. Okay, like that. Cool. Well, now zoom in. Take the brush tool. Change the foreground color to black with D or X key. D means default colors. Default colors in Photoshop are black in the white in the foreground, black in the background, and X key, it means switching between those colors. So okay, and with the brush I'm going to fill those grayish area with black. Okay, same here. I'm trying to clean all those areas and trying to make sure that there is only white and black color in the selection. Okay, so maybe I will press Ctrl Command L levels, and I'm trying to get more white into the writing shampoo. Okay, like that. Cool. So now we have the selection. Well, no, it's not just a selection, it's only alpha channel. So if you want to make a selection of this, I will click Ctrl or Command and click on the hold Ctrl and Command and click on the channel thumbnail, and it will load marching ends around all those white areas. Okay, click on the RGB channel back, and you are back in your view as it was in the beginning. Okay, so we have a selection now. See, but I can see here that the letter O is not selected properly, so I press Ctrl D as for deselect, and I'm going back to my channel. But before I did this, I will stamp all the layers. So I will have now I will have all this bottle which was cut it out from the background, and it's flattened with the white background, and you will see why I did it later. Because if I want to clean the surface of the bottle, I'm trying to cut out all the writing and the stickers, so, and I couldn't do that from the raw file, which is the smart object, which is the raw file. So now I flattened all those layers together. Okay, so I'm going back to channel. Here it is, and I will show you one trick. It's quite handy. If you want to make the writing, because if you could check it closer, you can see that this writing is like a grayish, it's not a white. So if you want to make it white, I'm going to do like that. Yeah, I make sure that the white is the foreground color. Check the brush tool. Okay, but go to mode, and instead of normal, go to overlay. Okay, like that. Because look at this. If I leave it as normal and I'm painting, it will paint over the black or everything. Alright. But when you change the mode into overlay and you're trying to paint, it's not painting white on the back, only on the white. Yeah, and I'm usually going to drop down the flow about 30% maybe, and make your brush bigger, a little bit bigger, and just brush over the letters like that. Okay, and the same with the top part. That's fine. But now you can see there are some leftovers of the black, so change the foreground color to black, go to mode in your brush and change it back to normal, put the flow back on 100% and make the brush smaller like that, and now just paint over those areas and clean it up a little bit. Yeah, like this. Cool. Okay, so that's it. And now if you want to make selection, as I told you before, just hold Control or Command key and click on the thumbnail of this channel like that. And if you zoom in, all the letters should be selected now properly. Yeah, nice, nice, very nice. Okay, click on the RGB channel and go back to your layers. So I need to delete this layer. Well, I need to delete this writing from the bottle. How I'm going to do that? It's really simple. Zoom out a little bit. So now I have a white writing selected. Go to select, go to modify, go to expand. So I'm going to expand my selection about, I don't know, 5 pixels. It's okay. Press OK. So the selection is now wider at 5 pixels from each side. Okay, and now click Shift and F5, which stands for fill, and make sure then contents is selected to content aware. Okay, and left the rest for the Photoshop. Photoshop will calculate those areas and will try to fill those white areas with the background color. Okay, press OK. Wait a little bit. Okay, deselected. So this is it. This is the result. I'm not worrying about those leftovers because we will see in the next steps what I'm going to do with them. And the same process I will do with the sticker. So, but the sticker I will use the pen tool for making the selection of the sticker. Here, if you want to make the selection from the path, just the same process as with the channels. Hold Control or Command on the Mac and click on the path thumbnail. Here it is. We go to selection, go to select, modify, expand, 5 pixels. Okay. Go back to layers and Shift F5, open the fill dialog box, make sure content aware is selected and press OK. Okay, cool, nice. So this is how I prepared my bottle before I start retouching it. And for retouching, okay, so I turn my work layer here. Before I start retouching it, I'm using for retouching the bottle, I'm using frequency separation technique. I'm not going to show you all the steps needed for this frequency separation technique because it's quite complex process, and I will make extra tutorial on frequency separation technique in the future, so stay tuned and you will find out how I'm doing that. Okay, so when I turn on the frequency separation, I'll see that I have the bottle already retouched. When I open this group, so you can see basically the idea behind the frequency separation is that you are splitting your image into 2 layers. One layer is only texture and the other layer is only color. So I'm working with both layers, and yeah, the first I'm going to see when I zoom in. So this is the starting point of the image. Yeah, and what I did is have a look. I'm choosing the high frequency layer, make sure it's in a normal like that, and for cleaning all those bits I'm using clone tool and make sure that sample is current layer, no current and below or all layers. We are working only with this one layer, so with this layer, so current layer has to be selected. Okay, change your brush smaller one, like that. Okay, click on the alt, for example like this, click on the clean area and delete this one. Okay, another thing is that we are working only with the texture layer, and if you want to see it better, what are you going to do? What are you doing? I'm using the solar curve. Have a look. It's quite a weird curve, but when the layer is in 50% gray, it will help you to see more all those noise and things you want to retouch. So let's have a look. Click on the area which you find a little bit clean, like here, and let's paint over all those unwanted elements. Of course, if you want to achieve a great result, it will take time. So I'm showing you only like a short part of it, because usually I'm spending a lot more time with cleaning all those things. So okay, so I did all the cleaning like that, all the bottle, yeah. And when I found it that my work layer is clean enough, see, I will delete this layer because it was only for showing purposes. And let's get back to my layer. See, this is the clean layer. So I cleaned all those parts. So now the texture layer is pretty clean. And when the texture layer is cleaned, I can start working with color layer. And see, this is what this is how it looks when I deleted all those writings. Yeah. So for cleaning all those parts, because my texture layer is clean, so it means that all those white areas are on the color layer. So for cleaning these bits, I'm using using mixer brush tool, and it's absolutely amazing technique. So for example, I'm going to delete this part. So take the mixer brush tool and click on the area which is clean and just drag down. See, like that. And I did the same process with the reflection here. So yeah, like that. And again, it will take some time if you want to make it properly, so I'm not going to retouch all the bottle like that because it's already retouched. So yeah, final result supposed to look like this. It's clean and smooth. Yeah. Okay. So this is the clean bottle, and now in the second part of the bottle retouching, I'm going to add back the writing and the sticker. So as I did the selection of the writing with the channels, I'm going back to my raw file and load the selections with control or command key, press down and click on the thumbnail of the selection. It will load the selection, march against, and now I'm going back to my raw file, and I'm pressing Control or Command J, which will make a copy only of the selected area, like that, and drag it about the frequency separation group. See? And now we have our writing back. And the same thing with the sticker. Yeah, just Control or Command on the Mac and click on the path around the sticker, and again click on the raw file and Control J. It will make a copy of selection and add it up about the frequency separation layer. So now I have stickers in a separate layer and the logo as well. If you find the logo little bit washed out, doesn't matter, you can make another copy with Control or Command J of this logo. Make sure the logo layer is selected and Control J or Command J, and it made a copy. Or if it's not bright enough for you, just make more copies. Okay, like that. So I'm not going to do that because I have already done it before. So let's delete those two layers and turn on the logo layer. Here it is. Okay, so after that I made the flattened version of this bottle here, and I used my pen tool selection to cut out the retouched bottle from the background, like that. Control Command J, and now I have one bottle already done. It's without background, it's already retouched like that. Same process I did for the other bottle. Okay, this one was maybe a little bit more tricky, but I'm not sure if it's tricky. This frequency separation technique, it's pretty handy, and you can see we have still all those nice bubble texture inside. Yeah, let's have a look on the original layer. Turn on the mask. See, that was the original as I capture it, and this one is already retouched. So I cleaned all those reflections, I made them sharper, cleaned all unwanted reflections and all the mess which was on the bottles. Okay, so we've got now all the bottles prepared and we can start compositing them into the final visual. Alright, so let's get back to the working document. Okay, so bottles are prepared for further manipulations, and now we can start building the composite. So I have opened the photo of the bottles which are in a fish tank, and the first thing I did the rotation about at 180%, because at the beginning we shooted these bottles like that. Yeah, so, and I want to make them not upside down. Alright, so there's the two bottles. This layer is only for placing the real bottle. So it's like a guide layer for placing the real bottles. Okay, so next I added another asset which I did, and in this part I'm trying to focus on the bottles around on the bubbles around the bottle and the water surface here. Yeah, so I picked from the assets I did, picked nice photo, this one, and I put it into the composition. Of course, as I mentioned previously, I'm trying to work non-destructively, so all those layers, as you can see, they are smart objects, and if when I'm double click on them, it will open the layer in the camera raw. So this is the image it looked as I capture it. And if you can check the raw conversion, so I add a little bit of exposure and left the highlights and -18, shadows +34, etc, etc. So as you can see here, and remove chromatic aberration, and sharpening stayed the same as I did with the bottles. Okay, so this is the next one image, and I have a mask here, so that looks like the image without the mask. So I mask out that part because I want to keep the other bottle in that position like it was. And let's turn on the another layer. So yeah, and this layer, I use this layer for this bottom part. Yes, so if I turn it off, turn it on, I like those ripples on the surface and the bubbles. Okay. So close this group, and as you can see here on the top, I still have some like a blank space, so there's another layer which I added to the background, and this layer I added because I like those bubbles, and those bubbles will be around this bottle with the shampoo. Yeah, so we will see it in next step. So the group I did, I used the mask, and I mask out this part of the image. So this is the mask is switch off, switch on. See, and now you have these bottles. It looks like a complete mess at the moment, but never mind, you will see it later. Now I'm starting to adding bottles here. So for example, I can turn on the shampoo bottle, see, and now it looks much more cleaner. Okay, let's have a look into the shampoo group, and you can see all those things. So if I turn all those layers off, this is the bottle as we retouched it in the first step. Yeah, now because it's a liquid inside the bottle, and when you turn into some certain angle, turn bottle into some certain angle, the level of the liquid inside can't be like that. Yeah, so I had to make sure that the level of the liquid in both bottles are in a horizontal position. Okay, so I make like a cutout of this part with the lasso tool, and here it is, and did some cloning underneath, because I was focusing only the dark line here. Yeah, so it's here, and I needed to fill that blank space, so I did some cloning afterwards. Okay, so the liquid surface is fixed, and now let's move on. Here I did some darkening in this bottom part of the bottle, as you can see, and now I did add 3 adjustment layers with curves. So first one will darken the bottom part of the bottle. Yep. The other one, hold on, it's supposed to do something with this part. And the last curve layer, if you can check, I will turn it on off. I did add like a bluish accent. I changed the RGB into blue, and I add it like that. You see, you can play as you want. Alright, so let's get back. Okay, right, and one more thing is here. I wanted to put this bottle behind these bubbles, because I will turn off this mask. See, it looks unnatural, so I had to mask out this bottom part of the bottle. yeah, and add the white mask, and with brush and some selection techniques with channels I was trying to extract all those bubbles here and make it working. If I will zoom in, you can have a look. It's pretty okay. Okay, so then I added another bottle of the shower gel here. Alright, and the same process. And one more thing is that I didn't like the cap. As it was shot separately, so I used the cap for both bottles from fish tank photo shoot, so because there were those colorful accents on them. So as you can see here, I cut out the previous cap, this one, and used the other one. Yeah, okay. And here, this layer, for example, this layer is oops, if I unclip it and show it separately like this is the original layer. I shot it in the fish tank, and I use only small bits from this layer because I like this reddish accent here and here and here. So I mask out all the bottle, left only the nice bottle, and use only those bits here and here, like that. Okay, so turn off the rest, and this one as well. Like that. Okay, same process I did with the here with the surface of the liquid. I made it look horizontal, did some curves, changed the cap, and here with this curve layer I darken all the bottle and left, if I can check the mask, so all the bottle is darkened, added more bluish color here, and mask out only the middle part, so it's like the light is shining through. Okay. Alright, so make sure all the layers are turned on. Okay, so and the next step is I wanted to add all those bubbles here in front of the bottle, so I did it in this layer, as you can see here. So I have those bubbles over the bottle, in front of the bottle, and when I check this layer, so I did the extraction using the channels, did the extraction of the bubbles using the channels from some of the assets I photographed. So and I add them in front of it. Okay, when I did this stage of the retouching and compositing, I did another frequency separation retouching, and have a look how it looks like. Okay, so this is frequency separation layer group. This is before. See, in this part I am missing some background. There is like a various noise and dirt, so I have to clean it, everything, and this part as well. So I did it with frequency separation, as I showed you, the same technique as I showed you with bottle retouching. Okay, and I added some more bubbles. Okay, So this is almost it. So basic compositing is done, and retouching as well. And now I played with some adjustment layers like this. What is it? I used the curve layer and check the curve. I did some brightening, and I want to make like a middle of the visual brighter, and the borders are a little bit darker, and I mask out when you check the bottle, when you check the layer mask, you can see the bottles are masked out from this adjustment layer, so these curves doesn't affect those bottles at all. Okay. In next step, I add, you can see here on this part, I add like a yellowish glow, and it's quite easy step how to do it. I will show you. Look at this. I'm going to create new layer, and hold Alt. If you're holding Alt and press on the new layer menu will pop up, and go to mode, change mode to color dodge. Okay, and here you can check this box, fill with color dodge neutral color, which is black. Okay, so here we go, we have a new layer, it's filled with black color, but you can't see black because it's in a color dodge mode. If I change it into normal, it's a black color. Alright, so let's go back to the color dodge and choose a brush, soft brush, make the size bigger, a little bit more. Okay, it's too big. I'm using bracket keys for changing the size of the brush. Okay, now go to flow, turn down the flow, for example, I don't know, 12, maybe 16, doesn't matter, and go to your foreground color and choose like a yellow color, or you can pick some color from the document you already have or from the other bottle, like here, and go check, take this color for example, like that. Okay, no. And now if you want to make this part of the bottle glowing, so I'm going to load the selection. So I'm going back to the bottle of shower gel. Here it is, there is a selection. Okay, if you find that selection is quite distracting for you, all those marching ends, because you can't see the edge properly, just press Ctrl or Command H and it will turn off the selection. The object is still, the selection is still on, but you can't see it. Press Ctrl or Command H again and it will come up with the marching end. So okay, turn it off now, and with your brush and the yellow color try to draw like this, see? And if you find it strong, just go and take down the opacity as you wish. Right, so okay, let's delete this one, turn on the previous one. As you can see, I have the opacity at 47%. Okay, so let's move further. The next adjustment layer, I use the color lockup, and if you click on this, you can see I used crisp winter look. Okay, turn off the mask. If you turn on the mask and zoom out, so this is what this layer is doing. Yeah, turn off, turn on. And I use this layer only to give like a bluish accent into the bottle. So I'm not using this layer for a whole image, only for certain parts of the bottle. If you check the layer mask here, you can see that layer supposed to appear only on white areas of the bottle. So turning on, off. Now you can see how it looks like. Okay, and and I drop down the opacity to 78%. Another adjustment layer is again color lookup, and it's let's have a look, which one is it? It's a candlelight. It's if you put it into the normal mode and 100%, it looks like that. If you pick up this color lookup layer, but I changed the blending mode into color and drop down the opacity into like 30%. Yeah, see, and it make all the image slightly darker and add it a little bit like a warmer tone. It's not cold as it was before. Now another layer is another color lookup, and in this time it's a moonlight, and let's zoom in. Check this part of the bottle, for example, this gradient. This is turned on, turned off. See, when it's turned off, it's warmer. Now it's a little bit colder. And of course, now I'll show you another thing. This layer is in the color mode and opacity is about 20%. And if I click 2 times, if I click on this layer and blend if mode will come up, I play with those sliders because I wanted to affect only highlights. So something like that. Okay, next step was I was playing with the water surface right down. See, that was before, after, and for this adjustment I use brightness and contrast, and I put brightness at 150%. 150, it's quite strong, yeah. But again, I mask out only the bottom part because it looks like that. If this layer is affecting all the image, it looks quite weird. I don't like it, so I like only the bottom part here. And I wanted to make this adjustment layer to make effect only on highlights. So same process than before, double click, and if you play with blend div mode, so you can see here, you can split this cursor with holding Alt, and you can split this cursor, and now you can see that this one is affecting only the highlights. See, before, after, before, after, a little bit into the shadows, but mostly on highlights. Okay, so and when I did all those things and the visuals look like this now, there is only the final part, and I'm playing with the plugins. So I'm using only 2 kind of plugins. One is from Nik Color Efex Pro, and the other one I will show you later. So let's jump into the Nik Color Efex Pro, and the first adjustment I did was I used tonal contrast. So for example, turn off this layer, make a stamp visible, Control Alt Shift and E, and it will stamp all the layers visible. Okay, let's get to the Color Efex Pro, like that. Oops. Okay. I forgot to turn off the selection because the selection was already selected, so that's why I can see only the bottle. So press cancel, press Command H and C. As I showed you in previous step, there is a selection of the bottle, so Command D or Control D, deselect it. Okay, and now I'm going back to Color Effects Pro, and going to pick up tonal contrast. Okay, so let's go down, scroll down to tonal contrast, and see, this is after, this is before, after, but I choose the balance, I think balance mode. And again, in this part I am focusing only at the bottom part of the visual, like that. It looks quite strong. Maybe I drop down the opacity into 0. Yeah. So make it happen. Okay, and so this is after and this is before, after. This effect is quite strong, so usually when I'm using tonal contrast, I will end up with lowering opacity at about 30 or 50%, depends on the photo I'm doing. Okay, so and I masked out only the bottom part of this visual, so I want to tonal contrast to make effect only on the bottom part of the visual. So as you can see here on the mask, yeah. So at the dark, at the black layer mask, press or hold Alt and click on the mask, and the mask it will create the black mask, so you can't see anything. And get the white brush and just brush on the areas you want to boost with this. Okay, like that. Yeah, before, after, and afterwards I was dropping down the opacity about 50% maybe, like that. Okay, so let's keep the original layer here. Delete this one. Alright, so we've got the water surface pretty much done. The next thing, and my favorite filter from Nik Color Effects Pro, is darken, lighten center, and it will make something like this. Yeah, so let's have a look. Color Effects Pro, okay. And I'm using this filter for drawing the viewer's eye, because you know human brains working like that you are focusing on the lighter parts of the image instead of the darker ones. So go to darken, lighten center, click on it. Okay, I change the shape into shape 2, place center, click on this button, place center here, it's the center image. You can change the center, see, and you can make the border darker or lighter. It's up to your preferences, as well as the center luminosity. You can control center luminosity. Alright, so something like that, and the result looks like that. I left the opacity at 100% and blend mode at normal. Okay, in the next step I did use the glamour glow, and the glamour glow will add like a nice glow on those gradients. See? And I didn't want to make it affect all the image, so this is how it looks when the glamour glow filter is applied on all the image, but I used the layer mask and mask out some certain areas because it darkened the overall image. So I mask out some areas, as you can see here. I just took the brush and I make like a pocket of light with this brush. Okay, and we are almost at the end. The last filter is from different plugin, and it's called Exposure 5, and it's from Alien Skin. Yeah, and this filter I'm using for sharpening, overall sharpening of the image, because I like the sharpening filter here. So, and usually it depends on the resolution of the image, of course, but I find that the I choose the preset sharpen low radius at 25, okay, but then I drop down the amount and the radius to 18. Okay, both, and go and click apply, and it will sharpen your image. You can see before, after. I'm always impressed how this filter will like breathe life into your photo. It's doing a great job. These color changes. Okay, so that was the exposure, and I left it as a normal mode and opacity 100. And the last bit I did was just a hue and saturation layer, and as you can see here, this part of the bottle and this part of the bottle, they are quite like cold, and I want to make them a little bit reddish because like they are affected by those reddish bubbles. So I use hue and saturation layer and went to colorize and play with those sliders to get this red accent. And of course I mask out only those areas of the bottles. I don't want to affect the sticker on the bottle, so I make the mask. I load the selection of both bottles and paint with white only those areas. So turn off. Okay, so that's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and I don't know how long time it took me to create, maybe about 2-3 hours maybe. And yeah, I did really enjoy it, and I did for the same brand 4 more other images, and yeah, the customer were quite happy with them, and me as well. So okay, guys, thanks for your attention, and see you in the future in some other tutorial. Okay, bye.